Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Tommy Obenchain. Glad to be with you, recording in the evening. So, good evening to you, wherever you're listening to this from, whatever time of day it is. I hope it is great where you are. It's Saturday, the 5th of July, and this is the first ever of this podcast series that I'm excited to begin. Really, to do what I'm going to call the trip report, which is just to capture both what's happening, news in Travel and Points world, deals in Travel and Points world, and then just provide space for commentary for what I may or may not be able to articulate very readily or fully, so to say, kind of hot takes, if you will, in the weekly newsletter. Rather the daily newsletter, the intent of this is to be weekly to complement. So we'll see how we do. Let me just start there. Obviously, if you've been subscribed or a reader on the blog, you'll know that I'm right now dropping what is a reasonably daily intervaled newsletter, really on Travel and Points commentary on what I'm seeing in travel, reviews, reports as to my trips, and guidance, hopefully, that's helpful to inspire your travel, as well as then deals and news links as I kind of categorize them right now, just to capture what's happening in a given day's world of Travel and Points, because there's a lot happening. The goal is to refine it to get better, right? When David Neeleman, when they started JetBlue, one of the things that he really harped on in the early years was this concept of getting better, that in 10 years, the goals that they would be flying on JetBlue and say, this is better than when we began. There wasn't this kind of good old days sentimentality to the early steps. And I actually really have liked that a lot. It's been an encouragement to me for sure, professionally in my broader work, and then to be sure in this project. And so the goal is that this gets better. And if you're flying with me here on the inaugural, Gal, thank you. Glad to have you on board. I hope in 10 years, this is better than it is today. And in the same place, same with the newsletter. I really love writing and what the process of writing affords, but it's sharpening exercise. One thing that I've also given articulation to on the blog is my desire to produce video content. Obviously, this is video form, but it's one that's pretty portable and very, very low lift from a editing standpoint. I've got and have been in the process of building out a kind of a series of vlogs that review different airlines and products over the last, actually, no number of years. But the editing process has been pretty intense, as you can expect. And for me, I'm just not set up to really full send edit. And so earlier this week, it was a helpful kind of point of, let's say, accountability, kind of reality checking, effectively, to recognize that I have got to put that on pause until I have better support around me to do editing. So while I've been giving articulation to my desire to have a video component to the content, a vlog component to the content that is coming, or there's the intent of it to come, but it's not here yet, and it won't be here until there's more support structure around the actual kind of last mile of that journey. Obviously, there's the planning, there's the flying and reviewing, and then there's the actual compiling into a finished product, into a finished piece of media, and that last mile is where I've got to get help. Just like we need people to fly the planes and deliver the products that we're going to review on the vlog, the actual process of building out the media needs a team, and I'm going to need to build that team. And the goal is that this actually gets enough momentum around it where I can afford to pay for that. So that's the goal, kind of in some level of, again, humility. We're better, and also just, this is where we are. So welcome to a This Is Where We Are first episode of the podcast, which I'm really excited about and glad to have you here. So let's just jump in. What are we talking about this week? Really, three things you can see in the post. What are the current deals and news just at large that we've seen this week and today? So I won't overharp on any of those because they're captured well. But like I said, the goal of this time, just to begin with an end in mind, what is our goal here? Our goal is to give me a little more space to talk, because it's fun to do so, and I appreciate getting to talk with you here, and to have hot sports opinions on what I'm seeing that actually might be a little outsized insofar as value is concerned, but may not be worth or have enough real kind of content to it to actually sit and write a full send post about, or highlight and talk more on what I've been writing about, or interview folks who are smarter and sharper or better looking than I am. Pretty low bar there. And then finally, just to enjoy this form of media because I love it, because it's fun to be on with you and getting to talk. So thanks. That's our big picture end in mind. End in mind for today, I want to talk about three things today. Pretty relevant topics. First, Southwest Airlines, value that I'm finding in the new world of Southwest, and skepticism that I'm putting on the shelf right now as a fan and more substantially shareholder of Southwest Airlines, as I look at just the revolution that's occurring kind of from the outside in, insofar as their brand and product seems to be concerned, and then a bit of hypothesizing that I'm doing, some real value that I've kind of stumbled into, and what we're gonna wait and see on and then go from there. So I'm going to start with Southwest. I'm going to talk about the Marriott Bonvoy program briefly. I've spoken a lot about Hyatt on the blog. I love Hyatt's rewards program, and I'm not alone in that opinion. It's kind of the darling, if you will. That's such a silly way of putting it, but thanks for bearing with, of the points and miles world. And in that, Hyatt is great, really great. Seriously, it's the status I'm probably the most concerned with keeping insofar as like Hyatt's tiers are built out, and I'm currently a globalist member. What a fun name of Hyatt's program, and I don't want to lose my globalist status, and there's a good reason for that. But the point I'm going for is just that Hyatt's great. I just want to talk about Bonvoy today and some great value that I'm seeing out of Bonvoy, so that's cool. And then finally, good old Delta, because what would a piece of Tommy Obenchain content be if I didn't talk about Delta? We're going to grow out of that eventually, probably, maybe, but I want to talk about a recent just deal with Delta and, well, why I like them. Okay, so those are the three for today. Let's just jump right in and talk about Southwest real quick. If you're like me and you've watched the last 6 months of Southwest, you've probably wondered what is going on and who is driving this train, kind of like that scene in the original Robin Hood when Little John, anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is, yeah, who's driving this thing? Obviously, a little bit of quick context. Elliott, the activist investor group that had came and tried to kind of hostile take over Southwest board, and then the board tried to swallow a poison pill to keep them from doing so, and then they kind of came to terms and said, we're never going to charge for check bags and we're friends. And then kind of everything really just went crazy a few months later, to put it, kind of gently and colloquially, where I'm going in that. So basically, you've got Elliott is this investor group, private equity firm, who's come in. They've said, hey, Southwest, we're taking over. Southwest said, no, you're not. They said, yes, we are. There was kind of this, attempted coup d'etat like 10 months ago, and that didn't go so well kind of for either party insofar as both were kind of in a deadlock. And then they came together and said, hey, actually, we're friends and we want to be friends. And Elliott, why don't you get some seats on the board? And then stuff just kind of came unwound as you look at the middle of the year, at least from the outside in, inside out, very different pictures, to be sure. Southwest went through a round of corporate layoffs that were unprecedented in their history, good, bad, ugly, all the above. The point is that was a big deal in the context of news and culture. But the far bigger deal really is just that they've had some massive brand moves, notably introducing checked bags and assigned seats that really led to a lot of questions, because they've said we're never going to charge for bags, and assigned seating has never been a part of Southwest method up until now this announcement and what is expected to be the beginning of assigned seats in 2026. So what does that mean? I mean, a handful of things changed. That was what it really means, substantially. And then they've now recut their fare products, and they have introduced a basic tier that reads worse than it actually is. And they're going to rebrand the fare products. And they already were kind of gimmicky names like Want to Get Away and Want to Get Away Plus, which were kind of cute because it felt like Southwest. And now they're calling them Choice Preferred, and Choice Basic, Choice. I think Choice Preferred and Choice something else that's shorter than Preferred, which makes you wonder why they did the diction. Anyways, so just a lot from a Southwest standpoint underfoot as it pertains to change. And then their CEO has had these multiple instances of really kind of making you wonder what he's thinking. Again, I'm being restrained in my language because I'm not the CEO, and that's what is true right now. And so in that place, yeah, there's just been a lot with Southwest from the outside. You're like, man, what's happening to this airline that has been not just like a darling or well-liked, like the most profitable airline in the history of aviation, this massive U.S. carrier from a passengers carried standpoint, and this brand that's just kind of like, titanium or something, some precious metal. It doesn't matter in the context of how valuable the brand is. What's going on? Okay, all that's true. And then you sit as a shareholder and you're like, man, like this was a $60 stock. What is going on? Okay, so all of that at hand here, and we can talk a lot about kind of where there's risk, and I've written about it and I've expressed my skepticism, so I'm going to just leave that there for now. I've decided after talking to people who love Southwest, like I love Southwest, and care about the well-being of the airline, not just from a brand and kind of emotion standpoint, but from a profitability standpoint, that I needed to give Southwest a chance. If I wasn't going to kind of jump ship, sell stock, and I wasn't going to try to go and save the airline myself by raising money to buy it, which sounds silly, and I'm just making the point like dramatically, right? Like you either leave, you stay, what are you doing? Or you get on board. I'm gonna get on board cautiously right now and say let's see what happens, because there is an element of opportunity that's implied in the fact that Southwest is trying to align itself with some of the revenue bases in the industry by looking more like another airline. Is that a bad idea? It really could be, but it hasn't proven itself to not be a great idea yet. Okay, so I say all of this. I don't want to pay for Southwest flights and pay for check bags. I don't want to buy flights and buy bags on Southwest, but because of the status that I hold with other airlines, Southwest is a very generous status match promotion that's extremely easy to apply for. I was able to get A-list status within a couple of minutes, which was cool. And in that place, I'm now scheduled to fly Southwest a bunch of times in the next 30 days. I've bought quite a few of their tickets. And what I found is that with A-list status, I think A-list has actually become a ton more valuable in the context of these new, kind of this re-merchandising of their product. A-list preferred perhaps even more so. And the companion pass is kind of a set in neutral. But where I'm going is A-list coupled with these basic fares, coupled with the fact that they seem a little more disciplined in actually keeping their fares they feel lower to me than they felt in the last couple of years insofar as like booking out is concerned. Is that right? It's totally unscientific and empirical, and I actually don't think it's true scientifically. But the point I'm making is that I have found tremendous value in being A-list, being able to book well in advance, and then take advantage of what for me is a very convenient airport, Dallas Love Field, very convenient network. And that's not to say that I think DFW is inconvenient or that American's network is not as good. I just would gently say that I'd rather have both than one, and that's a benefit of living in a market that has two airports and two airlines based out of it, which is unique and fortuitous, and I'm not alone in that, but it's definitely the exception, not the norm, insofar as air travel is concerned. Anyways, so my long-windedness, skepticism, all kind of laying the foundation to say that I'm sticking with Southwest. I want to see these benefits. I want to see these changes into production. I also want to give time for kind of the PR disaster that this has been to settle, and then watch what happens from a revenue standpoint to really study and kind of get one's arms around like how is this going for Southwest. I will be delighted to be on record saying that I think assigned seating was a great idea and really probably one that was way too late in the game to come. But that just has historically kind of been the story of Southwest. They have been really, since Herb left, at best slow to innovate on a lot of fronts, and there has been a lack of discipline around a number of kind of fundamentals to the business that they have failed to execute on. And I say that as a armchair CEO, kind of hobbyist, as a former flight attendant, as an entrepreneur, like whatever classification you want to put on it, it's my opinion that I am speaking into the mic here on the podcast to say that I'm really excited by a lot of these changes. I think some are timely. I would gently suggest that the notion of bags flying free was probably an oversimplified approach to the industry tack towards bag fees back in, what was that, eons ago. Anyways, and so then how you have to kind of like, rip off that Band-Aid is just difficult. And yet I would have executed it still very differently, notably because the trending of the industry is towards premium right now, like the trending of just consumer dollars in the industry, which is why Delta and United command like 85% of the U.S. industry's profits. And it's not because people like their basic economy fares. So does it give me pause at Southwest because their brand has been so important to this point insofar as denoting their success? It's been a big part. So maybe. So we'll see. Anyways, I'm sticking with Southwest. I'm finding a ton of value out of A-List coupled with their basic fares. And I think you can too. If you cannot get A-List easily, then that's where I do kind of have a pause. I'm like, would I fly Southwest? I don't know. Not like if you're not getting A-List easily because you can't match to it because you're not flying that frequently, then I struggle to see what makes Southwest a choosable product per se over the likes of at least Delta and United, put plainly, because they both have better onboard products, just like plainly. Like they're more comfortable to sit in. The food is better. What's both offered kind of complimentary and for sale. They have, I can go on and on. Better onboard products. And that's where schedule does come into play here. And in Dallas, it's like, well, you can go fly American. And that's a fair question. Is American's product implicitly better? I would go so far as to say it's not, but their mileage program is substantially better than Rapid Rewards. Oh, it gets interesting. But I sit in the niche of being able to match to A-List, neat, being able to then buy basic, fly with enough frequency to kind of make that, needle move or spin out of something spin. There's a metaphor in there. The point I'm making is that I've kind of found this value pocket with Southwest that I'm excited to see how it plays out, as I'm eager to see how these changes play out, and I haven't sold my stock yet. And I believe in the brand and the people of Southwest Airlines. Do I believe in the leadership or the board of Southwest Airlines? Not yet. So I'm with the rest of the world watching it pretty closely and think there's a lot of opportunity on the table because of choices that leadership and board are making, both within and without. So we'll see. Okay, so I'll report back about my first Southwest flight in just under 2 weeks since the changes rolled out in May. First time as an A-lister, kind of in the new world. And my hope is that it feels closer to some things never change than anything else. And then we can kind of evaluate from there, again, with the footnote that I'm really excited for assigned seats and kind of intend to be like on a Southwest plane day one of assigned seating. I just can't wait to see it in action. That's such a like never in my life, never in the life of the airline, which is older than me, have there been assigned seats to Southwest Airlines. So it's going to be a cool day. And if I'm wrong in that, any of you Southwest historians who are listening, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure I'm accurate with respect to the assigned seating bit, or with anything. In anyways, interested to stir opinion here. To be sure, delighted to be wrong. Not the first time, not the last time. Love talking about airplanes, and that's what we're doing here on the podcast. Okay, so that's point number one tonight. Thanks for letting me talk about Southwest. Point number two, as we look at value travel deals, I've got the Marriott has got so many different credit cards, and they all have kind of weird names. Like, I mean, they have a card like I think the Bonvoy Bevy card, and how that got out of a focus group, man. I mean, I'm in marketing. Makes you wonder. Doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is that the Marriott program is ginormous, right? Like, it's just this juggernaut. And that doesn't make it like especially valuable, but it doesn't also make it just especially atrocious. It means there are value pockets, and then kind of, everything else. Value pocket for sure is the free night award that I get on the Boundless, if I'm remembering early card, which I have right now because I am like presently 26 nights away from getting to lifetime platinum status with Marriott, which I get 25 nights every year because of this card. So like I just have to keep it through the end of this year to then get into January 1st to then clear those last 25 nights and then be set up for however much longer my life will last with Marriott platinum status, which is, effectively the like value of being a pharaoh today. Very little value, but it does have some perks to it, enough to kind of within striking distance say that's a better way to attain it insofar as credit card, nights are concerned, than trying to actually go out and stay 25 nights at a Marriott, because that's just going to take me eons and eons hence, and I'm less incentivized to do it if I don't have a material status level. And I would say the Marriott program status, like tiers really don't get material till you hit platinum, and that even could change. So this whole thing is part of the stupid games, stupid prizes kind of paradigm that often can unfold in the world of points and miles, but there can be real value in it too, and that's what we're playing for. Anyways, so I've got this card. The premise on the card was first, like let's ring the bell, get to lifetime platinum, because then you really made something of your life. Just kidding. But in that same token, the card, is not inexpensive, but it does pay for itself if you are into this, if you're going to spend money on travel, with like a dining credit and then this free night award that's usable on an annual basis. So the free night award, woohoo, I've got one. It's good for up to 85,000 points, and then you can use up to 15,000 points to top it up. So I've got to be in New York in a few weeks, and New York is the best, but it's like, man, do you want to spend, like $100 and stay at the Howard Johnson in Newark, which is probably like $200. And it's just don't ever stay there. I did once before I was commuting into when I was based there with United, and never stayed there again. Anyways, that's another story. The point though is that New York's got real range to the market, and some really bad places to stay and some really great places to stay, but it's a total pay to play market that doesn't have a kind of value driving floor, I gently suggest. So it's a great place to use points, and that's where this free night award comes into place. So there's a newer Ritz-Carlton, the Ritz-Carlton Nomad. It's in Manhattan. I think it's in Midtown, but we're going to find out, right? And it's like a pretty gentle, $1,000 a night place to stay, which is not inexpensive in my world, and that is what it is. But boom, this free night award comes in like a total Yahtzee, because you get it included with the credit card on an annual basis. Super easy to use via one's Marriott account. And now I'm super fired up. I was able to use the free night award, top it up with 13,000 points, which is a pretty, that's a very small number of points in the Marriott ecosystem, and have a free night at the Ritz-Carlton Nomad in New York. So excited to report back there, but wanted to share kind of what was a value win, ring the bell, if I can say that again, on this redemption, which is cool. And it just does go to show there really is still value to be had at Marriott. I'm excited about it. And again, could there be more value? Yes, I could have stayed at the St. Regis also, which is in a different location and is the original St. Regis, which is super cool, but chose the Ritz-Carlton, at least at this point. I might change my mind tonight, and it's easy to change these in and out, but chose the Ritz-Carlton because it's newer. It's in a location that I'm a little bit more excited about. Not that I know Manhattan that well. And well, those two things really, because the St. Regis is also really cool. And for instance, St. Regis, I'm currently Marriott Platinum, because you get platinum status with the card. So you get platinum, and then I'm going to be able to achieve lifetime platinum in a short order here. And with that, at certain Marriott brands, St. Regis being one of them, you can choose free breakfast as one of your amenities. And St. Regis's have pretty awesome free breakfast, which is cool. Ritz-Carlton is not included in that. You do not get club lounge access or breakfast as a part of the Ritz-Carlton experience for Bonvoy members. That's because Ritz was their own thing and then Marriott, pulled them into the fold. But they kind of have a carve out in the program, which is not surprising because Marriott has a bunch of brands and a bunch of nuance to their program. So I would just say on balance, staying at a Ritz is not great from a loyalty member standpoint, but it is great from a redemption kind of cash value standpoint. And that all makes me pretty okay to say that I'm just going to drink the free coffee in the lobby and go find breakfast somewhere else because I'm not going to get it for free at the hotel. And that's okay. And in fact, I've got now like a pretty early flight early-ish flight out of New York to get back to Dallas the morning of departure. So that also kind of passes go in the sense of I'm not going to miss breakfast because I'm not going to be eating it at the hotel anyways. So how great is this? Night at the Ritz-Carlton that otherwise would have cost well over $1,000 using a free night award certificate that I got from a credit card, which is where there's value in this equation. Stupid games, stupid prizes sometimes, real value other times. It's a fun game to play, and this is a good example of that. Okay, so let's know how that stay goes. Excited to report back here on the blog and was really fired up by that redemption. So I had to share it and give a little bit of props to the Bonvoy program, which does not always get props because it often underperforms in the context of value. Okay, thanks. So that's Marriott. And point number 2. Point number 3, Delta. Just want to give Delta a quick shout out. Delta merchandises better than anyone else the ability to upgrade like tickets within their platform, shall we say, which I just love. And this is ubiquitous, right? Like Delta, you book a seat on a Delta plane with dollars, Sky Miles, points and miles, Virgin Atlantic miles, Air France KLM, Flying Blue points, like good night nurse. You get a seat on a Delta plane, and so long as it's not a basic economy ticket. Actually, I don't even know. I just don't buy basic economy tickets, except on Southwest. Haha. And so I don't know if this is true or not, but outside of basic tickets, it is awesome to me how easy Delta makes it to pay to play, pay to upgrade into Comfort Plus or First or Premium Select or Delta One with just the seat map like right in front of you. And it's not always a great deal, but it can be a great deal. And for instance, on that flight back from New York to Dallas, after staying at the Ritz-Carlton, it was a very reasonable pay-to-play upgrade, which I'm paying for. Obviously not going to be expensed, but in that same place, kind of fun to have such a good use of, cash miles. It makes the flying experience better because Delta has a premium product that I would say really does deliver from a premium basis, or often does, especially when you're flying Delta mainline. And so it's awesome. They make it so attainable to upgrade into. And what it is it's good for business. And that is, as I said earlier, the way the industry is trending. Bigger premium cabins that are easy to access, not cheap to access, but easy to access. Like, here's the price, here's how you get in. And that is such a departure from kind of the conventional 90s, 2000 era airlines that were kind of both dinosaurs and dying, that now have really been reinvented, led in the US by Delta and now United. Good for them. American is trying to catch up, and that's good because they should and they can. And if they want to survive, they need to. And that's where I have misgivings towards Southwest strategy. And it's why even Spirit is calling now their front cabin, which when I flew in it a few months ago and wrote about it, it was called still their big front seats, which I just never thought was good branding. That wasn't my call. Didn't ask me. Now they're calling it Spirit First, which is so funny because I mean, this is in the most loving sense. It's definitely not a first class, and that's okay. And I don't think they're going to ever be able to deliver a first class with airplanes painted bright yellow. I hope I'm wrong. Even Ryanair in Europe, they don't have a first class, but even the airplanes are more appealing to look at. So I don't know, Spirit. I don't know. But I want you to win because I'm all for competition in the airline industry. But I'm also really cool to not fly in you, though I do have Spirit points sidebar that are going to expire at some point. And yeah, those might get me on a Spirit flight because it's really hard to say no to free. Okay, that's the show. Thanks for listening. First episode in the books. I'm Tommy Obenchain. Let me know what you think, how you are, where you're going next. Drop me an email. We'll be back as the plan stands next week with our next episode. Trip Report is the play and the plan and the name and the game here on the podcast. I'm Tommy Obenchain. Thanks for listening. Fly well.